Hey folks, welcome to another set of 8th grade science video notes. Today's lesson is all about natural resources and synthetic materials. More specifically, the standard we'll be covering expects us to gather and make sense of information to describe that synthetic materials come from natural resources and impact society. These notes will provide you some basic information to help understand the general idea, but you will be required to do some research of your own to show that you truly understand the concept. First off, let's start with something you probably already know about: natural resources. Natural resources are materials that come from nature and are able to be used for the benefit of humans. They come naturally from the earth without human influence, though humans can influence them if they desire to. A classic example is wood from trees. Without human intervention, woods and forests will grow and provide this natural resource. Humans have to harvest those trees in order to get the wood from them. In the interest of conservation, we generally try to plant more trees than we take out so that we're not starving the environment from the trees it worked so hard to grow. Humans can increase the tree population by planting more or decrease it by cutting more down. This is one way that humans influence this natural resource, though without human interference, the trees would grow on their own in a sustainable way. Other examples of natural resources include minerals like coal, diamonds, gold, silver, and other metals, or any biological materials. When we harvest a natural resource, we could use them as they are, but they're generally not useful to us without some type of reshaping, refining, or processing. This can be done through a series of physical processes. If we want to use those natural resources to create new materials, this will require a chemical process. When we create something new that does not come naturally from the earth, that new thing is considered a synthetic material. Synthetic materials are made from natural resources, but we take them through some series of chemical reactions in order to create something new. When we take the time to figure out how to make something new, we don't usually do that just for fun. All synthetic materials have a specific purpose that they were designed for. If we didn't have a need or want that particular material, then why would we bother to spend the time to make it? When we think about natural resources getting turned into synthetic materials, we have to know about structure and function to really understand what's going on. Every pure substance, any elements or compounds, have their own set of physical and chemical properties that are specific to that substance. If we put a couple of pure substances together to create a mixture, those properties do not change. The overall properties of the total mixture will be some combination of the properties of your original substances. However, when we take those two substances and force them to chemically react together, they will rearrange the way that they're chemically bonded and form completely new and different substances and have a new and different set of chemical and physical properties that are unrelated to what they had before. Chemical and physical properties are determined by the structure of molecules or their shape. So for our purposes, we can just consider the structure as those properties. What properties a substance has will directly determine what it's used for, or its function. For example, let's take a pair of scissors. Scissors have a very specific purpose: to cut things. We didn't make them to use as screwdrivers or to stir our coffee. We made them to cut things. Scissors do not naturally form from the earth. They don't grow on trees. They are made of things that do come from nature, but we do have to do a little bit of work on those to make them usable and turn them into a pair of scissors. For instance, the metal that we mine out of the ground is a natural resource. We likely melt it down and pour it into a mold to get it into the correct shape for the blades of a pair of scissors. Then we take the time to keep reshaping, polishing, and sharpening those blades. We may even mix that metal with other metals to create stronger, longer-lasting alloys that are mixtures of those two metals and have a slightly different set of properties than either one of them on its own. But then we go and add plastic handles to them so that they're comfortable to hold. Plastic definitely doesn't come naturally from the earth, but we do take crude oil from the earth, take it through a series of refining processes and chemical reactions with other natural resources to create plastic. We do then melt that plastic down, pour it into a mold in order to get it to be handle-shaped. The pair of scissors has its own structure and function. The structure is what it's made of, blades and handles, and the function is its purpose, to cut things, and the handles are to make it easier to hold. While a lot of this seems like common sense and stuff we should probably just inherently understand, it's important to dig a little deeper and make sure we understand just how important this is. Everything you use throughout your day is either a natural resource or comes from natural resources. Remember, we just said synthetic materials are made from natural resources, right? The purpose of making synthetic materials is to fulfill a need of society, to create new tools that make our lives easier, or new medicines that help us stay healthy, and so on. But every time we create a synthetic material, we're using our natural resources. We have to think really hard about how that affects the environment and make sure that we're keeping our environment healthy. Let's take the scissors, for example, again. There's only so much oil buried deep underground. At some point, we will run out, so we have to be careful about how we use it. This has led us to finding new and different ways to make different types of plastic without using oil as a starting point, or finding ways to reuse plastic that we've already made but no longer have a use for. When we mine for the metals that make the blades, we have to make sure we're not drastically upsetting the ecosystem in that area. We talked about conservation and sustainability earlier this year, and this is where it comes back to be very useful to us. We have to be careful to conserve our resources and make sure we're not wasting them, and we have to be careful to gather those natural resources in a sustainable way so that we don't overuse them to the point that they no longer exist. Well, that's all for today, folks. I hope you paid very close attention to this video and that you learned something along the way. As always, if you have any questions, ask.